Okay, now we're ready to add a player character in Godot. And because our player is going to be fairly complicated, and this is already looking pretty busy, we're going to make the player a new scene. So I'm going to click this plus button, and it's not going to be a 3D scene, that's just like an empty node. We're going to create a character body. So I'm going to click on Other Node. I'm going to search for character body. It's still a physics thing, but it's not static, it's not rigid, it's its own special thing just for player characters. I'm going to rename that to player straight away and make sure I've saved this new scene. So Control S, save it as player scene. Then, just like with everything else in Godot, I'm going to give this a mesh and a collision. So I'm going to click plus, add a mesh instance, and go back to player, click plus, add a collision shape. So collision shape is going to stay a capsule pretty much this whole time. Capsule is just like a big tall circle, kind of ellipse cylinder thing. It's used quite often in games as a collision box. And for now, just while we're writing all the code and so on for our player, we're going to make the mesh a capsule as well. So the mesh can just be a capsule mesh. We'll drag both those things up so that they're actually on the ground instead of halfway through the ground. I'll go to transform, and it looks like I want to drag this by 1 meter. Let's do the same thing for the collision shape. Transform, 1 meter. There we go, so they're standing on the ground, and so that they don't end up getting lost and separated from each other, I'm now going to group my player. It is an incredibly boring looking mesh, so there is probably at least one small thing we can do to it, which is we're going to give it a visor, just another mesh box, so we can tell which way our player is facing. I'm going to click on the mesh that already exists and add a new mesh. We don't even need a collision box for this one, we're just going to have a box mesh, and we're going to use this as a kind of a player visor. I'm going to click on the box, give it a little bit less height, make it not quite so wide, and then just kind of drag it roughly out here somewhere, just so we can tell which way the player is facing. We're still going to use the capsule for all the colliding and everything, but it's just kind of a way to tell which way is forwards for our player. That is the design for our player done for now. Now we want to add some code to this player. And you might already be getting daunted by the idea of writing code to make a player jump around and move around in 3D. Fortunately, because we've made our player a character body, most of the code for moving around has already been written for us. I'm going to add a script, and you'll notice that it gives me this option of starting with a template. So it's actually going to already start with the character body template, which has got a bunch of basic movement added to it. I'm going to create this player script. I end up in the scripting tab, and you can see it's already got all this code on the screen there. I think there's just enough room to see all of the code. We can have a look at the code for a second. It's got a speed, and it's got a jump speed as well, jump velocity. And then instead of process, which we had in 2D, it's got physics process, because we're also detecting collisions with things. It says if I'm not touching the floor, then it's going to change my velocity to downwards a bit extra, based on the value of gravity. And if I press the accept button, which is space on my keyboard, and I'm on the floor, then it's going to send me upwards. It's going to set my Y velocity to whatever number I make this, so I can control how strong my jump is. Then it's giving me a direction. It's getting all 4 arrow keys, left, right, up, and down, and it's working out what direction I'm pointing based on those 4 keys combined together, which is quite neat. It sets me to face that direction. It gets my current transform, and then it points me off in that direction. This word normalize just means that it's always making the direction the same length. Sometimes when you're going diagonally, it might be too wide without adding normalized on the end, so it's shrinking it down so it's always the same length. And if it got a direction, if I've actually pressed any keys down, then it's going to use that to change my X speed and my Z speed. So those are both of the flat ones. Y was going upwards. X and Z is for my other two speeds. But if I don't get a direction because I'm not pressing any buttons, then it's going to set my speed to 0. But it doesn't set it to 0 instantly because that would look a bit weird. It just moves towards 0. So it gets my current velocity, and then it moves towards 0 at this speed. So all of this is just setting different velocities based on which buttons I've pressed, and then Move and Slide applies the velocity to my character and also checks whether I've hit anything or not. So that's the entire script, and it's all been written for us. I didn't write a single line of that. You won't have to write a single line of it either. Just add a script to your character body, and you should get all of this already ready to play our player character. So we'll save that script. We're going to drag our player now into the main scene. So I'll get back to the scene by clicking on 3D. I'm going to find player scene, not player script. That's GD is the script, the GD script. Player scene, I'm going to drag into my game. There's my player. And I should be ready to play. We'll see how my player moves about. So there's my player. And as I hit the arrow keys, you can see it's already moving. I can press space and it can jump as well. So it's pretty simple, but it's working. I haven't had to write any of the code, and I've got a working jumping player. Of course, the camera isn't following the player whatsoever. The camera is just stuck in our original game. So before we go any further, let's actually delete the camera in our main scene and add a new camera to our player. So the camera will follow me around. I am going to delete this camera. Delete. And now I wouldn't be able to play the game at all with no cameras, but I'm going to go to player and add a new camera. I'm going to search for camera 3D, create, and then just drag it so it's looking at my player. Something like that, maybe way further back actually. I want to see most of the player. Zoom out, drag it back. There is my player. Save this scene, click play, and I've got a player character now. I can run around the game, and the camera's always looking at what I do. It's a bit odd not being able to turn. We're going to fix turning in the next video. But one thing we should fix right now is the player's looking at the camera. So this won't matter so much when we start controlling the player with the mouse later anyway, because it's going to turn to face the mouse. But for now we probably just want to flip our character to face the other way so that we're looking at the back of the player's head instead of the front of the player's head. Final thing for this video, we're going to grab our mesh and just turn it around to face the other way. In fact, if I hold down Control, I can make sure that I'm turning it exactly 180 degrees. And now when we play our game, we're looking at the back of the capsule's head, which is going to look good once we added the rest of the code and things to follow the mouse. So that's our simple player character for now. I'll show you in the next video how we can add much better fixes to the camera and getting it following the mouse and all of the rest.